Before you give them the sauce, right? Before we give them the sauce, Ernest, I would love to maybe take a step back because I think you're giving our listeners a lot of good information, and I'm sure they're taking notes. Welcome to the Aerotropolis Atlanta Podcast. I am Shannon James, your president and CEO, and we are here for another great treat, filled with information in hopes to help you land here and take off. So today we have a great guest, one of my good friends who maybe one day, if he can lace them up, we'll get a chance to hoop and so I can serve him up, show him that I still got some skills on the court. But the Economic Development Director for the City of Fairburn, we have Ernest Gilchrist with us. Ernest, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Ernest, I know I started off by talking about basketball, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But I want to first thank you for joining us today. Everyone is always asking about what's happening in Fairburn, and everyone knows Mayor Hurst, Elizabeth Hurst. Special shout out to our very own board member, Miss Elizabeth Hurst. And so what we want to do is first talk about you, Ernest. I know that you've been in a role now for a few months, and so we would love for our listeners to better understand more about you personally and your role and responsibilities with the City of Fairburn. So help us out.
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, I also would like to acknowledge Mayor Elizabeth Hurst and for allowing me to have this opportunity, as well as the Fairburn City Council, and for the empowerment that she does. She's a tremendous person as well as a leader, and leading Fairburn forward. As you know, Fairburn's moniker is situated to succeed, and she is definitely leading us into that next era, as she says, from the being labeled as a Mayberry to a full-fledged member of the South Fulton community and the Aerotropolis community in Metro Atlanta. So, as you stated earlier, I've been in Fairburn since April of this year.
Nice.
And I am just to tell you a little bit about myself is that I have been in economic development for about 15 years, transitioned from the corporate world and in terms of industries, medical devices, food, and technology. And I'm an operations guy. So I fit right in with Fairburn in terms of what their the wellhouse is of their industries in Fairburn. And but what we want to do in Fairburn is to transition us from being focused on on a few logistics and so forth and manufacturing, and we want to take it to a higher level, advanced manufacturing and technology. And we'd like to be a full-fledged participant in the film and entertainment industry as well.
Nice.
One of the biggest things that Mayor Hurst and the Fairburn leaders have challenged me to do is to help revitalize the corridor, the downtown corridor that we have. Fairburn has a historic corridor. Fairburn is the home of the old Campbell County Courthouse. In terms of bits of history, I think in 1871, Fairburn built that courthouse, and it still stands. And now we want to transition our downtown so that we can have live, work, and play in there. We've got 2 historic depots. These depots will be converted over to restaurants probably within the next 3 to 6 months. One of our businesses downtown, which is a Mexican restaurant, or Armando's for the lack of the name, is going from his business on Broad Street over across the street to one of the depots. We're excited about that. We're excited about all the opportunities, and we're excited about the future Cinco de Mayo coming. And also Casablanca, which used to be a mainstay in Fairburn, is returning. Casablanca, unfortunately, it was experienced a fire, and they had to relocate to, and now they're coming back. And so we got 2 bonuses. Really, as a result of the fire, we have the Fairburn Stage and Courtyard, which is a great cultural facility. It's an area that brings the community together. And then we have, now we're going to have a great restaurant in the other depot across the street. So with that, I think we're going to have a lot more street life and city life, a lot more activity downtown, and that's going to attract other businesses. Of course, we have Oz Pizza, and we have a few other restaurants downtown. But that, along with the LCI streetscape plan, which is going to change the look of downtown Fairburn in terms of the landscaping and so forth, the lighting and so forth. So when you come through that area now, which is, it's a old downtown, you're going to see it upgraded to look like it's a lot of the downtowns in Atlanta that have done similar things in the future. So we are very, very proud of that. That should start happening next year.
Nice.
And it's going to be a process of several years before it reaches fruition. But we're very, very excited about that.
Oh, man, it's a lot to be excited about. Truly situated to succeed. And I'm glad that you guys aren't taking away the Mexican restaurant and actually bringing more, which really creates the ecosystem that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think all of the residents in the area of Fairburn and surrounding areas, it continues to be a draw, right?
Yes.
And then now you're creating the lighting. There's already the safety. You're creating the ambiance. And so that's all economic development, man.
Yeah. Yes. It's interesting that you use the word ecosystem, because that's a word I also like to use as an economic developer, is that it's more than just jobs and investment.
It is.
It really is. It is. The ecosystem is our partners, so the school system. And in fact, in Fairburn, we also have the Fairburn Educational Campus, which the city of Fairburn made an investment about 7 years ago. And that investment has paid off, because now we have on that campus, which is in downtown Fairburn, we have satellite campuses for Georgia Military College as well as Brunel. And we also have a room available. We're presently courting other educational institutions so that we can complete the space that is available on that campus. So a tremendous investment in education. We're so proud of the fact that this is we have Landmark Christian School, which is a big part of the community. They're very actively engaged. We also are looking forward to the STEM-focused school, which is going to be coming to South Fulton, and construction starts next year. And we're excited about the fact that even though it's going to serve all of South Fulton, it is geographically going to be based in Fairburn. So as we move forward, we want to leverage that STEM-focused school, which is going to be middle school and high school. North Fulton is also building one right now, which would be based in Alpharetta. We want to leverage that with all the partners that we have there in town, the associate degrees, the two-year college that we talked about earlier. We're excited about the educational part of the ecosystem as well. We feel we do a good job in the terms of the industrial cycle, the things that we're known for. We have a lot of companies in Fairburn, U.S. Foods. You see these food trucks and throughout Metro Atlanta going throughout, where they're coming from Fairburn, Georgia. Owens Corning, Materials in Motion, and just to name a few, Clorox. We are operating on a pretty good cycle with those, okay? Our focus is our downtown, as well as revitalizing our strategic corridor of Highway 74, Sonora Road. And of course, as you know, we had a tour recently, and the area of focus for Fairburn was in the Sonora Road area.
That's right. Before you give them the sauce, Ernest, I would love to maybe take a step back, because I think you're giving our listeners a lot of good information, and I'm sure they're taking notes. And so I want to maybe just take a quick step back and really think about a lot of what you just mentioned in regards to the capacity building from an educational perspective. You're creating the ambiance for more development, more opportunities. And so, a lot of our listeners, even our corporate executives, are always thinking about, what are the cities doing themselves internally to position for more job growth, more economic impact. what I love to do is spend a little bit of time talking about the demographics of the city of Fairburn, because I think people seem to just kind of wonder and think about Fairburn as their own perception. Well, now that we've got a podcast and they can stay informed, now let's help them better understand what the true demographics of the city of Fairburn are. And I'd love for you to kind of just talk through some of those areas, whether it's the market area, the population, even the median income, all that good stuff.
That's a great segue, Shannon, because one of the biggest opportunities for us is to communicate our own message.
Right.
And one of those things that we like to communicate is that Fairburn has transformed tremendously over the last 20 years. It has grown tremendously. In fact, Fairburn, a lot of people might not know this, but Fairburn percentage-wise is the fastest growing community in terms of growth in Metro Atlanta as well as the state of Georgia.
Nice.
Okay. So
Nice.
that's a fact. Those are stats that we get from, I think, ECG. And so that's tremendous.
It is.
Look at the growth, and then you see this growth when you look at the schools. You look at the number of neighborhoods that we have. We offer a variety of housing stock for people in Fairburn, different income levels, socioeconomically as well. And that's I think one of the biggest things that we have. 35,000 people come through the Sonora Road corridor, or in other words, known as the Tyrone Peachtree City corridor, every day. Okay, and they come through that corridor. So one of the things we want to do is we want to leverage not just our stats that we have in Fairburn, which are favorable to attracting business and development. We want to leverage that traffic by in that corridor having opportunities and amenities that will be not only attractive for Fairburn, but attractive for a lot of the traffic that is commuting through there, as well as being a great complement to the six hotels that are also in that corridor. 5 of those 6 hotels are geographically in Fairburn. One is adjacent nearby in the city of South Fulton, but still it's in that area. So we want to be able to have something to complement those hotels, because those hotels have a 70% occupancy rate at this moment, which is very, very good.
It's strong.
So it gives us a great opportunity to be able to attract other businesses, and that a lot as an economic developer, there are things I can't tell you.
I know, right?
But we're excited about some opportunities that are coming to that corridor in terms of amenities that the community will like, as well as the travel community will like.
Well, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to try and give our listeners maybe as much as you can, right? But and I understand the urgency of sensitivity for sure.
Yeah.
And just to kind of give our listeners a snapshot, current residents as of 2017, these numbers, Fairburn are currently at 14,645. I'm sure these numbers have gone up since they've been published. Also a daytime population of another 1,300. So more people are spending time working and shopping and spending money in Fairburn in the daytime. Average home value is roughly $180,000, and the average household income is roughly $63,000. And the income for the average household is roughly $73,000. And what I think people should really take note is that majority of the opportunities in regards to jobs and education are white-collar jobs at 62%. And I think that's a major statistic that our listeners should know. That
when we tout our information, our demographics, that's one of the things that we let people know. Fairburn, and I guess historically, has been known as a blue-collar community, but Fairburn has a diversity of people and socioeconomic levels that live there. We have a lot of people that work in the city of Atlanta, various white-collar industries. We have a lot of people that work in the airport for many of the aviation-related jobs there. And we have a variety of housing. In fact, Shannon, in this corridor, we have I mentioned diversity of housing. We have a development called Solstice. And Solstice is Class A apartment property. Well, Class A obviously is the best commercial property.
Best as it gets.
Exactly. So we're proud of that. I think it's about 300 units
Wow.
there, and that's in that I-85 Sonora Road corridor. And because of a lot of people coming to the community, Fairburn is now offering a lot of different options in terms of housing. Fairburn, 55% of Fairburn's residents live in residential and single-family housing, but we have very, very quality multifamily housing, okay, which is great. In the area nearby off Harris Road and Sonora Road, which is about a half mile away, we have another development being built by the same people that developed Solstice called, I think, South River Partners. They're building another Class A development that will have 276 units.
I think I've seen that.
Right.
It's under construction
so that's
now.
under construction at this moment. So because of the location of that facility, and because those are going to be quality real estate housing, the cost for rents in that area might be upwards to $1,500 to $2,000. Okay.
Wow.
So, that just tells you a lot there.
It does.
And of course, because of that, because of the demand there, and because of the location, you'll have walkability to many of the hotels and businesses in that area.
Oh, that's key.
So that is we're very much excited about that, and that's going to drive demand for other amenities as well.
You hear that, City of Fairburn, right? We're talking access, walkability, diversity of product mix for housing, restaurants, lighting, safety. I mean, there's a smorgasbord of opportunity that is being created in Fairburn, and they've got the right man doing it for sure, and the right mayor and the right leadership. You mentioned earlier, Ernest, obviously the corridor and opportunities, and you mentioned earlier that the Aerotropolis, we conducted our economic development collective, we conducted a bus tour for all of our properties that we've identified as some of our top catalytic sites. And the property that we stopped in Fairburn was very unique. It is in the corridor that you're mentioning, and I'd love for our listeners to know about this opportunity that sits at Sonora Road. It's 3 different sites, and I know that the city is actually still doing and working on some infrastructure to make the sites contiguous. But I would love for you to mention what those 3 sites look like, what they consist of. Matter of fact, more for our listeners to know about.
I just want to pause here and say, Shannon, the city of Fairburn and myself in particular as an economic developer, we are tremendously proud of our affiliation with the Atlanta Aerotropolis Alliance.
Thank you.
And being able to leverage and brand common assets that we have.
That's right.
For each other every day. I think that's very important.
Thank you.
That being said, thank you for putting on the tour that we had. I think that was back in September.
Yeah, I think it was September
18th, because that brought a lot of focus to that community and to that part of Fairburn that might not necessarily have it otherwise. And yes, we focused on 3 parcels that day. Total acreage is over about 150 commercial acres right there at Highway 74, which is Sonora Road. And within basically a very, very short distance of each other, we have about over 200 acres altogether, but we couldn't focus on everything that
I remember
day.
that. Across the street, I think it was a big opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we want to let you know is that we have there are commercial sites. The owners are very, very open-minded to industry there. What we like to see in which the zoning is complements is mixed-use development there in that particular area where you have commercial as well as the amenities as well in the same area. And again, as I mentioned earlier, at aiding the walkability and having a concentration of people in that same area, because we know if Fairburn is to move forward in terms of economic development, we've got to have the mixed-use development and have people
That's right.
in the same concentration as where they can live, work, and play. And in this area, we have the opportunity for that. We have infrastructure that is planned and presently underway in this area. We have a lateral access street called Renaissance Parkway, which is going to be very effective in getting cars off Highway 74 so that people who are patronizing the businesses don't have to get on Highway 74 to travel on that particular side. So we are very excited. We're very excited about that.
It's a big project, for sure.
And also, let me add, Shannon, is that the Fairburn Park and Ride, is also in this particular area where, with our city of Fairburn and its neighboring partners, cities, along with the South Fulton CID, working on this particular project, which will have the ability for people to be able to park and go into the city or and then come back and go home. And we hope that when that happens, that people will not only just use it as a park and ride, but they will be able to shop and then go home, groceries or whatever they would need to do. So we're excited about that particular thing. Also in this corridor, another partnership with the South Fulton CID I'd like to mention, and we mentioned on the day of the tour.
Jody Gray.
Is Jody Gray. And the South Metro Gateway Project, so to speak, we don't have a formal name of it at this moment, but right now it's being called the South Metro Gateway Project. And this is a transportation development, which will totally transform the bottleneck and congestion that is presently in this area. Because as you know, if anyone comes down to Fairburn, we're blessed with industry and trucking and logistics. But now you've got citizens have to live in the same space. So that is being developed. We're going to see that next week, where we're going to see conversions of the interchange, which will keep traffic flowing and moving. We'll see over the next 3 to 5 years, we will see from Interstate 85 and Snow Road down to Milan, which is about 2 miles east heading towards Tyrone. You'll see landscape improvements. You'll see sidewalks. You'll see the highway widen from its existing presence to about, I think, 6 to 8 lanes.
Wow.
So you'll see the continuation of traffic flow. You won't have the bottlenecks. And that's going to add for quality of life, not only for Fairburn citizens, but for the citizens and the surrounding communities. And we're thankful for the city of Fairburn and the relationship that it has with the city of South Fulton, which many of the board members are executives from businesses, many of the major corporations that are in Fairburn.
That's huge. Yes. That's huge. You hit on so many points just there, Ernest. I think what speaks volumes to me and our listeners for sure is that we've had Jody on to interview. And what our listeners have to understand is that there is real partnership and collaboration happening right here in the Aerotropolis.
Yes.
There's a public-private engagement that is allowing us to really move forward at a more rampant pace than if we were to operate in our silos, right?
Yes.
And so now that we're coming together with public-private partnerships like South Fulton CID and the city of Fairburn and their partnership now with the city of South Fulton, working together to think strategically on how we can create the ecosystem that allows for more opportunity and growth and jobs and that whole live, work, play formula that we're trying to create. And the mixed-use development really speaks to that, right? Because it allows people to not only live where they are, but to work where they are, to play where they are. And it keeps them there. It keeps those dollars, that buy-in, that interest. And it just allows more opportunity. Is it anything that you would like to share in regards to contact, social media, how they may be able to get in contact with you or go to the city site, or more information about the development opportunity we talked about? How can they reach you or the city?
Yep. Well, you can reach me by going to the Fairburn website, fairburn.com, and the economic development page. All my contact information will be there. Any information about Fairburn will be there, and including the event that we mentioned, the business forum that we just talked about, which is scheduled for Wednesday, December 5th. But I am very happy to know that I'm very welcoming, and people want to meet with me and talk about business in Fairburn. We are situated to succeed, and we want to talk to you about how you can help make Fabrin better, how we can have companies that will help increase the socioeconomic level of Fabrin, offering good jobs and therefore enhancing the quality of life of our community.
Powerful words. Way to close this out, Ernest. Well, I'll tell you what, another great podcast. It's always good when you're in the room with a former athlete, right? Former basketball player. I'm going to get you one day, Ernest. And I won't take it easy on you. I want to hear anything about your age either. But I'm joking. But listen, great information to all of our listeners, our viewers. City of Fabrin, they're literally doing all the right things, all the right activities, from growth to strategic thinking to capacity building. They are truly situated to succeed. Again, I'm Shannon James, your president and CEO, and we want to help you land here and take off. Thank you.